Yeah, and the analogy I tell guys, because some younger guys just don't get that. I'm like, imagine you are getting ready to make love with your partner on a suspended bed hanging from this beautiful tropical location, and you're by yourselves and everything is perfect, and you're just about to make love, and all of a sudden you happen to glance up because you feel this little thump 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 on your bed, and you realize about a dozen snakes are dropping from the ceiling all around you. Now, I can guarantee for the vast majority of guys, that erection is going to go away in about 2 seconds, and they're going to get themselves and hopefully their partner out of that bed. The interesting thing is if they were actually ejaculating, or if the woman was orgasming, the ejaculation would not stop. That is a reflex, a timed reflex, spinal reflex. But the point of that is what stress-based ED is. It's your brain stem and your limbic system realizing there's a threat, and it's shifting you from the reproductive process, which is allocating blood to your penis, to suddenly getting it to your legs and your arms so you can move. And that's, we're here as a species because of that. The problem is our stresses aren't always deal with this, yay, we lived, now it's over kind of things. In fact, the majority of our stresses are long-term, more ambiguous, abstract things that might be months or years in the future, or with the pandemic and the economy and this war and all this stuff. It's just there. So our brains don't appear to be well adapted to this type of systemic long-term stress. And that's a topic we should definitely talk about for COVID and relationships.
I think so, because that's also going to fall into another category in terms of how that stress has actually stopped us wanting to connect with our partners more, which I think falls really nicely in terms of what we're talking about today, in the sense of, what is love, and can that be something that is reproduced and maintained, and it really does follow us throughout life, so that when we do encounter all these stresses that are in the outside world, we have such a great buffer to constantly go back to. And there's a saying that I always say, we have to try and learn how to escape to our partner, not escape from our partner. And there's a lot of sort of intricacies in trying to get to that space as well, that we want to escape to our partner. And that's where I think a lot of stress can be alleviated, in being able to do that.
That's a wonderful saying, Massimo. That's, what Wendy and I call it is building your base. We believe that people need to have their own personal base. Every morning I wake up and I focus on a few things that reaffirms that I'm here for a good purpose, and I'm going to do my damnedest to do what I want to do today. And at the end of the night, I do that. That can be religious, it can be psychological, whatever, but your personal base, and then your couple's base is something you have in common with your partner that you both find meaning in, enjoy, and want to do together. And because when, as you say, going back to your partner, retreating to, that is so important, that your partner is going to help you. You may have arguments and be mad at each other for a little while, but on average, eventually your partner's there to help you feel good. Steve Porges, the founder of polyvagal theory, says that the most important role in relationships for each partner is to make the other one feel safe. Correct. And safe has a complex meaning. As far as ED, to touch real quickly on the other aspect of it, there's stress-based ED, and the challenge is that can be short-term stress. First time a guy's with a woman, he might not be able to have his erection, or he might ejaculate too quickly. But then the systemic stress causes all sorts of things. A lot of times men with long-term stress will get an erection initially, and then when they start having intercourse with their partner, they lose it quickly. And that's a common telltale sign of stress-based ED. That is a possible indicator of something else I'll mention in a second that's more physiological, but that's when you have severe stress. A study by the Veterans Association in the United States, or the part of the military, found, if I remember correctly, 85% of men with full post-traumatic stress syndrome from military combat had severe erectile dysfunction systemically.
That makes sense.
And the challenge is those poor guys, because we live between two major military bases, they are conditioned through all their training.
To
You
live
need to find
to live in a state of high anxiety.
Well, but first, the scary, yes, absolutely, always ready. But first, they're taught, get yourself a girlfriend, get yourself a wife, have a baby, because when you are away in the field, if you know you've got a wife and a child, you need to support that. It'll help push you through some stuff where otherwise guys will just say, I can't take this. I'm hurting real bad. I'm just going to fall asleep. And it keeps guys alive. It brings guys home because they have a reason to come home.
So that love is capitalized on. Another way of putting it.
Yes, it's used. I mean, if you look at Viktor Frankl's theories, that's textbook Viktor Frankl. But the challenge is these guys come back and they can't get this nightmare that's running out of their head of what happened or what they did because they were ordered to or they had to. And they can't tell their partner. It's classified, or they just can't, for some reason, they can't, like Tim Ferriss, not being able to remember it when he was abused as a child. And they can't have an erection. Now, if they're younger, if they're in their 20s or 30s, the woman has sexual needs too. And what has happened again and again, and it's a huge casualty of American, and I'm sure across the board in other countries of the veterans, is their wife, their partner leaves them or they cheat on them. And basically it destroys that pact they had with themselves that they were going to come home to that partner, because now that partner has left them and they kill themselves. Yeah. That's a major cause of suicide. There's I won't mention the brand. There's a highly specialized military service in the United States with the Navy that they have teams that go out and do whatever's needed. We know one person where her husband is the last member of that team. I forget how many people were in the unit. Every other member that came back has committed suicide.
That's amazing.
And it's a major tragedy, but that's talking about stress-based ED.